Hey there, my name is Kelly Dale and I'm owner of Off the Beaded Path, which is located in Forest City, North Carolina. For today's video, I'm going to be teaching you how to make a puffy 3D heart. And this is going to be a pendant size that can be strung on a necklace or whatever you want to use it for. Now, there are literally probably 20 to 30 different ways to do a 3D puffy heart. I did a lot of research for this video trying to find the absolute easiest way to teach you how to make a heart. I've done it various ways. They're all different. So to find the one that I thought would be the easiest for you come out to be pretty good. So I hope you guys will enjoy the version that I taught you. This like I said, there are so many versions out there that, you could learn a lot of different versions. This is just the one that I thought would be the easiest to teach you guys, and you would be able to see and understand clearly through video quality. For the heart, you are going to need 68 4mm bicone or round beads. Now you can also do this in 3mm to make the heart smaller, or you can do it in 6mm to make the heart larger, whichever you choose. Then you're also going to need just a few size 11 seed beads, and when I say a few, I mean like 10. So you barely need any, and that's just to make a loop at the top for your heart to hang. So go ahead and get your crystals. You're going to need 2 needles. I'm going to use size 10 beading needles, and then I'm going to use 8-pound clear or crystal fire lime. Now the thing is, you are going to be making 2 separate pieces. So you're going to need one piece that's about 18 to 20 inches long, maybe a little longer if you're not comfortable with that much stitching. And then you'll need another piece that's about 1 yard long, so 2 pieces. And we want to start out putting a needle on each end of our short piece of thread. So go ahead and get your materials together and we'll get started. So here is our 3D puffy heart that I'm going to be teaching you today. As you can see, if you turn it to the side just a little bit, the top parts of our heart here are going to stick out just a little bit more to really make it look kind of puffy. Now this one I used 4mm bicones, and I've already stitched up one side using 4mm rounds, so that you can kind of see the difference you'll have in your shape and your size, because using the 4mm rounds, it's turning out just a little bit bigger than with my bicones, and I seem to see the thread a little bit more with the rounds. So that will be your main thing to think about there. But to start out, what you'll want to do is I'm going to be using some 4mm just red thunder polished rounds, which is just a crystal. And what I'm going to do is I have a needle on each end. You'll want it on your short piece of thread. And I'm going to start out by picking up 3 rounds on one needle, and I'm going to let those fall onto the thread. Then I'll pick up 1 round on one needle, and I'm going to pull it off the needle just a little bit and cross opposite ways through that one bead. Now on this first one, I'm going to put the needles together, grab a hold of the bead, and pull, so that way my thread goes to the center, or my beads go to the center of my thread, I should say. So you have one circle of 4 now. For the next step, I'll pick up 1 round onto each needle and let those fall. And then I will pick up 1 round on one needle, pull it down off the needle just a little bit, and cross opposite ways through that needle, or through that bead. I am getting so messed up today. Oh goodness. Alright, one more time. 1 round on each needle, and then I'm going to pick up 1 round, and I'm going to cross my needles opposite ways through the 1 round. So thus far, you are going to have 3 circles. Now, this comes the little funky part where we're going to do our turn. Basically, what you just did is you worked up one side, and now we're going to do the turn here for the curve. So, what we're going to do is these beads here are facing myself. So, I'm going to use my left hand thread, and I'm going to pick up one bead. Then, I'm going to use my right hand thread, and I'm going to pick up one bead, and I'm going to cross my needles opposite ways through the one on the right hand. Now, if you are a lefty, a left-hander, you will just do it opposite ways. So you'll pick up one on the right, one on the left, and you'll cross through the one on the left, okay? So don't fret if you are a left-handed person. So when I pull, that makes kind of a funky little like V-A shape there, and that's exactly what you want. So with the needle coming away from my beadwork, which is this one here, I'm going to pick up one bead. Now with my other needle, which is the one coming out towards the beadwork, I'm going to pick up one round, and I'm going to cross my needles opposite ways through the bead that is coming out of towards the beadwork here. So I'm just going to cross through that one. So that now, when I pull the threads opposite ways, and I get it into position here, I am ready to start working back down the way that I started. So to get into position to do that, I'm going to take the needle that's coming out towards the beadwork, which is this one here, and I'm going to come right through what I call the side bead. Just this one bead, and I'm going to zoom in just a little bit if I can to help you see this a little better, which one I'm going to go through. So just that one side bead, and I'm going to go ahead and pull that thread all the way through. Now with the thread coming out of the bead that I added, I'm going to pick up one round, just like this. With the other needle, I'm going to pick up one round, and I'm going to cross through the bead here that is coming, the thread that's out of the beadwork. And pull. Thus making another box. Now when you do this, this right here will kind of curve up like that, and that's exactly what you want it to do. So to get into position for the next circle, I'm going to take the needle coming out towards the beadwork, and I'm going to go right down through the next side bead. Okay, the needle that is coming out of the bead that I crossed through is going to pick up one bead. The needle here picks up one bead, and I'm going to cross my needles opposite ways through the one bead that is exiting out here. Okay, one more time. Got to get into position. So I'm going to take the needle that's coming out towards the beadwork, and I'm going to go right through the last side bead. Now I'm going to go ahead and turn my beadwork this way, because now I've got this side of the heart finished, and I'm starting to work up this way. So the thread that is exiting out here at the bottom of my heart, this is actually your point. This will be the bottom point of the heart. I'm going to pick up one bead. With this needle here, the one coming out of the beadwork, I'm going to pick up one heart, and I'm going to cross the needles opposite ways. I'm going to pick up one bead and cross the needles opposite ways through the one bead. So that now I have one side of the heart completely finished. And this is my first one that I stitched up. And so basically what you just finished is this half of the beadwork. So all we have to do is add this half over here to be finished with the first part. So on each needle, I'm going to pick up one bead. I'm going to pick up one bead on one needle, and I'm going to cross my needles opposite ways through that one bead. So that makes our next little box. Now we're already to that funky turnaround spot here. So with the needle that is coming out away from the beadwork, I'm going to pick up one bead. With my needle here on this side, the one coming out towards the beadwork, I'm going to pick up one bead, and I'm going to cross my needles opposite ways through the one coming out of the beadwork. Alright, and just pull those threads nice and tight. Because the thing about it is, when you do this and you pull this, your beads are going to be kind of wonky, and that's okay. You just have to pull them and make them lay where they need to lay. So, the thread that's coming out of the beadwork away from it picks up one round bead. The needle, the thread here that's coming out towards the beadwork, picks up one bead, and I'm going to cross my needles opposite ways through this one bead. Okay, and now when I pull it, it's going to lay kind of sideways like that, and I just want to take my end pieces and just kind of pull them nice and tight as so. Now I'm ready to do the very last box to finish it up. So the needle that's coming out of the beadwork, which is this one here, I'm going to separate it a little bit so you can see. See this bead right here? This is the bead we want to go through. This is our bead to finish out our box. So I'm going to go through this bead here. Just the one bead. Then I'm going to come up through the bead right next to it, which is there. And I'll see if I can't get it in just a little better. So we crossed through this bead, I went through this one, and now I'm coming through this one. Now I'm going to pick up one bead on one needle, and I'm going to cross my needles opposite ways through that one bead, so that when I pull, now I have one side of my heart complete. You will want to tie this thread off, completely tied off, cut your threads, and then once you finish that, put your needles onto the long end and stitch another one. So this is the one that I did first with my short thread. And then here's the one that I just stitched up for you with my long thread, just to save some time so you could see how this is actually going to be. Now, what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to tie this one off. I'm not going to cut the threads, but I am going to tie it off. So I'm going to come back up here, and I'm just going to stitch back around to one of my threads. It doesn't matter which side you stitch through, as long as you don't see your thread. Now I'm going to take the tail and the working thread, and I'm going to tie just a couple of knots. Okay, and this is just so that this heart won't get loose as I stitch. Alright, so I'm going to take the piece I just finished and my first piece, and I'm going to lay them side by side here together. And what I want to do is I just want to line up my beads the way that they lay on each heart here at the top. Now I'm going to see if I can zoom in so you can see a little better here. So when you line it up, you want the beads to line up side by side on the first heart and the second heart. Now I'm going to take the thread that I have. I've got my two pieces of thread here, and I'm going to take the thread that is coming out towards this heart here on the back side. Well, actually, no, let me strike that. Let me change that. I'm going to take the thread that's coming out here onto the front side. And I'm going to go right through, and I'm going to lay it down so you can see. I'm going to go right through the bead right here next to where my knot is. I'm just going to go right through it towards the center. Now, here's the thing. If you're stitching this, it doesn't matter where you come out at around the edge, because it is going to be the same all the way around. So don't worry if you're not coming out exactly where I'm at. So I've gone through this bead. I'm going to put my beads back together here, my hearts back together. And with the thread that I did not use, the one that still got the knot there, I'm going to pick up one round bead. And I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to go through the bead that is adjacent to the one I just went through on this side. So I'm going to go right down through the one that's on this side. So when I do that and I pull, you'll want your new bead to sit in between your two layers. So it's laying this way. My other beads are laying here and here. Alright, so that gets my first bead on there. That's the hardest one to me to get on there. Now all I'm going to do is I'm going to lay this down on one needle. I'm going to pick up one bead and I'm going to cross my needles opposite ways through this one bead. And I'm going to pull. When you pull, make sure those beads, and I'm going to lay it out like this so you can see, goes in between my two beads here on the base. And if it helps, just kind of hold it like this so that you can see what you're doing. Okay, the thread that's coming out this side goes through the very next bead along the outer edge. The thread that's coming out on the back side here goes right up through the next bead on the outer edge on this side. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to pick up one bead with one needle. I'm going to cross my needles opposite ways through this one bead. And pull. So that now I have 3 beads that are laying to the connection. So the thread coming out to the front side goes right through the next bead along the edge of my heart. The thread that's coming out towards the back side here is going to go through the adjacent bead, the one very next bead there on the outer edge. Same deal. I'm going to pick up one bead with one needle. I'm going to cross my needles opposite ways through this one bead. Pull. And once I pull, same thing. Thread coming out to the front side goes through the very next outer bead. Thread coming out on the back side goes through the very next outer bead. Okay, so you can see I'm now connected here on this side. And you want to pull nice and tight. Alright, I think you should be good to go by now, but I'm going to keep going. We want to pick up one bead, cross opposite ways through that one bead, pull. The thread coming out on the front side goes through the very next bead here along the edge. Thread coming out on the back side goes through the very next bead here along the edge. Pick up one bead, cross your needles opposite ways through this one bead, and we're just going to keep doing this around the heart. When you get down here to the bottom corner, Same thing, just like we've been doing all the way around. Pick up our bead and cross through it. Okay, and now we're starting to work up the other way. I hope you guys enjoy making this heart because, like I said, I tried to find the absolute easiest way that I could find to teach you guys how to do this heart because there are so many different varieties out there. And I mean, this is not a super easy project. If you make these will be great little Valentine's Day pieces, and people love hearts anyways. So, okay, now I am to the top of my heart where I originally started. Here is my first bead that I added in my outer edge. So to finish out my heart, all I'm going to do is take my needle, one needle, and I'm going to go right through the bead the first bead here that I started with. I'm going to go through. Basically what I want to do is I just want to go through and reinforce this last circle, pulling it nice and tight. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my two threads, they're coming out right next to each other, and I'm going to tie them together into a couple of really good knots. Now, one needle is going to go, we need to get right here to the center to do our bell. So I'm going to go right down through one of my side beads here and then through the center. Now this is where your seed beads come into play. Like I said, you're only going to need a few. So I'm going to take the same needle that I was just using and I'm going to pick up 10 seed beads. So 10 seed beads. My thread is coming out this way. So I'm going to take my needle and come back around through the same bead to make a circle. And if you want the bell to be bigger, just add more seed beads. And I'm going to reinforce by going back through these seed beads a couple of times. Go through the seed beads, go through the crystal, and then just keep reinforcing your loop until it's secure. So once you've reinforced and you're happy with the reinforcement, then what you need to do is stitch through a few beads and tie off your threads. So what I'll do is I will not do that. Figure out how to fix that. There we go. I'll come through a bead and then I'll go up under the thread between two beads here. Leave myself a little circle, go through the circle and pull, doing a couple of half hitch knots. And then what you want to do is just stitch through the piece doing your half hitch knots. And while you do this, you'll be reinforcing the piece also. If you have a good bit of thread left over, you are more than welcome to sit and reinforce this bad boy as much as you want. This one, like I said, I did with the round beads. And I don't actually like as much as I used with the bicone beads here. You see your thread a lot more with the round beads. But I hope that you can do the technique. I hope you understood the technique. And I hope I taught you how to make a 3D heart. So I hope you guys enjoyed learning how to make the 3D crystal heart, and I really hope that I was able to teach you the technique that you wanted to learn to make the heart. Now, be sure and come back next week, because next week I'm going to be teaching you how to do St. Petersburg stitch, and then we've got all kinds of other videos coming up. I do want to tell you, one of my favorite designers for the 3D heart can be found at bead-patterns.com, and her name is Chris, C-H-R-I-S, Prusing, I believe I'm saying it right, P-R-U-S-S-I-N-G, and she has a wonderful 3D, she has a lot of 3D pattern hearts on her website. They are right angle weave with a bit more beads, but she has a awareness ribbon one, she has a regular one, she has a multicolored heart. So if you like this technique and you want to try other techniques, you may want to check some of her patterns out. And two, just do a quick search on Google, 3D pattern, or 3D heart beading tutorial, and maybe you can find some other ones too. But I want to wish you guys a happy Valentine's Day. It's coming up in a couple of weeks, and we're saying goodbye to January and hello to February. How weird is that already? But hope you guys have a fantastic week. Be sure and become our friend on Facebook. Be sure and go to our Etsy store and check out our website, offthebeadedpath.com. And as always, you can check me out and see what's going on on my beading table and in my life at our blog, which is offthebeadedpath.blogspot.com. So I hope you guys have a blessed week, and we'll see you again next week to teach you how to do St. Petersburg stitch. Bye-bye.